They found her unconscious in the marble hallway of the city's most exclusive gala, 8 months pregnant, bruises already forming around her throat in the perfect shape of hands. Her billionaire husband standing over her, straightening his tuxedo like nothing happened. 40 million people watched the security footage within hours. Everyone saw what he did. Everyone knew the truth. But here's what they didn't see. The $800 million revenge plan her father was already putting into motion. The evidence that would destroy a tech empire. The allies gathering in secret. And the moment this broken woman would transform into someone her abuser never saw coming. This is the true story of Victoria Ashford, the woman who survived strangulation at 8 months pregnant, and the father who spent his entire fortune to make sure her husband lost everything. What happens when a billionaire attacks the wrong woman? Stay with me, because this story gets darker before the light breaks through. The steady beep of a hospital monitor filled the quiet room. Tori's eyes fluttered open, her vision blurry at the edges. Everything felt wrong. The light was too bright. The air tasted metallic. Her throat burned. "My baby," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Is my baby okay?" A woman's face appeared above her, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Dr. Hoffman. Tori recognized her obstetrician through the fog in her mind. "Your daughter is stable, Tori." Dr. Hoffman placed a cold ultrasound wand on Tori's swollen belly. "You, however, have sustained significant trauma." Tori's hand moved to her neck. She touched the skin gently and winced. The bruising felt raised, tender. Her fingers traced the pattern instinctively. She did it again, and again. She couldn't stop touching her throat, as if confirming it was real. The baby kicked. A strong, insistent movement against her ribs. Tori exhaled slowly. Her daughter was alive. They were both alive. "Mrs. Ashford, there are 2 detectives here who need to speak with you." Dr. Hoffman's voice was gentle but firm. "Do you feel up to answering some questions?" Tori nodded. The motion sent pain shooting through her neck. 2 people entered the room. A woman in her 50s with short gray hair and a younger man with tired eyes. The woman pulled a chair close to the bed while the man set up a recording device on the table. "Mrs. Ashford, my name is Detective Martinez. This is Detective Chen. We need to ask you about what happened at the Children's Cancer Gala last night." The older detective's voice was professional, but not unkind. "Can you tell us what you remember?" Last night, the gala. Tori's mind tried to piece together the fragments. "I don't..." She paused, swallowing carefully around the pain. "It happened so fast." "Take your time," Detective Martinez said. Tori closed her eyes. Everyone saw him do this to me. The thought crashed over her like a wave. She'd been strangled in front of hundreds of people, in a ballroom full of cameras and witnesses. There was no denying it, no explaining it away. 17 witnesses have already given statements, the male detective said quietly. The venue's security footage captured everything. Tori opened her eyes. Tears spilled down her cheeks without permission. The door burst open. A man in his early 60s rushed in, his salt and pepper hair disheveled. James Caldwell stopped dead when he saw his daughter. His face went white, then red, then completely expressionless. "Baby girl." The words came out broken. Tori hadn't heard that nickname in years. Not since before she married Derek. Not since she became Mrs. Ashford and left her old life behind. "Daddy," her voice cracked. In front of everyone, I can't." James moved to the bed and took her hand carefully, avoiding the IV line. His grip was warm and solid, real. "I'm going to fix this," he said. Tori saw something in her father's eyes she'd never seen before. It wasn't anger. It was colder than that, more final. "I'm going to destroy him," James thought. "Every last piece of him." The detectives exchanged glances and quietly gathered their equipment. "We'll come back later," Detective Martinez said. "Get some rest, Mrs. Ashford." After they left, the room fell silent except for the monitor's persistent beeping. James held his daughter's hand and stared at the bruises on her throat. His jaw worked, but no words came out. Another person appeared in the doorway. Rebecca Morrison, Tori's best friend since college, stood holding a tablet. Her mascara was smudged, and her usually perfect hair hung loose around her shoulders. "Tori," Becca's voice trembled. "I'm so sorry. I didn't want to show you this, But it's everywhere. She approached the bed reluctantly and held out the tablet. TM's posted it 4 hours ago. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, everyone's sharing it. Tori took the tablet with shaking hands. The video was already playing. Security footage from last night, black and white, but crystal clear. The camera showed a hallway outside the ballroom. Tori appeared first, one hand on her pregnant belly, walking slowly in her emerald green evening gown. Then Derek followed her. His tuxedo was perfectly tailored. His face was twisted with rage. Tori watched herself turn to face him. She couldn't hear the audio on the hospital video, but she remembered every word. "You embarrassed me." Derek's hands reached for her throat. His fingers wrapped around her neck and squeezed. Tori's eyes went wide on the screen. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Her pregnant belly was clearly visible, pressing against Derek as she tried to push him away. "You stupid..." He squeezed harder. Tori's hands clawed at his wrists. Her knees began to buckle. Two waiters ran into frame. They grabbed Derek's arms and pulled him backward. He released her throat, but his face showed no remorse, only fury. The video ended. Below it, a number glowed in red, 42 million views. Tori dropped the tablet onto the bed. Her hands were shaking violently. "There's more," Becca said quietly. "His lawyers gave a statement an hour ago." She picked up the tablet and swiped to a news article. Derek's attorney stood on the steps of their mansion, microphones thrust toward him. "Mr. Ashford deeply regrets the altercation that occurred last evening," the lawyer read from a prepared statement. "His wife has been experiencing severe pregnancy-related emotional instability for several months. Mr. Ashford is committed to getting his family the help they need during this difficult time." Tori felt her father's hand tighten around hers. The video cut to Margaret Ashford, Derek's mother. She wore a cream-colored suit and pearl earrings. Her face was composed, sympathetic. "Tori has been very difficult throughout this pregnancy," Margaret said, dabbing at dry eyes with a tissue. "We've all been worried about her mental state. Derek has been under tremendous pressure trying to care for her." The hospital room television flickered to life. Becca grabbed the remote, but Tori stopped her. "Leave it," Tori said. The news anchor's voice filled the room. Billionaire tech CEO Derek Ashford was involved in an altercation with his wife Victoria last night at a charity gala. Sources close to the family say Mrs. Ashford has been struggling with her pregnancy. They were already spinning the narrative, already making her the villain, the unstable wife, the emotional pregnant woman, the burden. Tori's phone sitting on the bedside table began to ring. Private number. She stared at it. 4 rings, 5. James reached for it, but Tori picked it up first. She pressed answer and held it to her ear. "Come home, Victoria." Derek's voice was calm, measured, the voice he used with investors and board members. "We'll forget this happened. I'll tell everyone it was a misunderstanding. We'll move forward." Tori's hand moved to her throat again. She touched the bruises, real, undeniable. "No," she whispered. "I'm sorry, I didn't hear that." His tone sharpened. "What did you say?" "I said no." Silence on the other end, then a laugh, short and cold. "You don't get to say no to me, Victoria. I own you. I own that baby. You'll come home, or I'll make sure you lose everything." The line went dead. Tori lowered the phone slowly. She looked at her father and her best friend. Both of them were watching her with identical expressions of concern. "I'm not going back," Tori said. Her voice was stronger now, clearer. "I'm never going back." James leaned forward and kissed his daughter's forehead gently. "You won't have to," he said. "I promise you that." 6 hours earlier, Tori had stood in front of her walk-in closet trying to decide what to wear. The Children's Cancer Gala was one of the biggest charity events of the year. She'd been planning to attend for months, back when she still cared about these things, back when she still felt like herself. "Are you ready yet?" Derek's voice came from the bedroom. "We're going to be late." Tori pulled out a navy blue maternity gown. It had long sleeves and a modest neckline. Safe, appropriate. Derek appeared in the closet doorway. His tuxedo was already on, perfectly fitted. He looked at the dress in her hands and his jaw tightened. "That dress makes you look enormous," he said. "Change." "I'm 8 months pregnant, Derek. I am enormous." His eyes narrowed. Don't be difficult. Pick something else. Tori hung the navy dress back up. Her hands were already shaking. She knew this mood, the tightness around his eyes, the clipped words, warning signs she'd learned to read over 3 years of marriage. She pulled out a black dress, too formal, a burgundy one, too bright, a gray one, too dull. Jesus Christ, Victoria. Derek stepped into the closet. It's not that complicated. Just pick a fucking dress. Tori flinched. She reached for a champagne-colored gown and held it up. Derek looked at it for a long moment, then nodded once. That's better. Hurry up. He left the closet. Tori changed into the champagne dress with shaking hands. It took her 3 tries to zip it up. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized the woman staring back. Hollow eyes, tight smile, a stranger wearing her face. The drive to the gala was silent. Derek's driver navigated through evening traffic while Derek checked his phone. Tori watched the city lights blur past the window. She touched her belly and felt her daughter kick. I'm sorry, she thought. I'm so sorry I chose him. The car pulled up to the hotel entrance. Photographers lined the red carpet. Camera flashes exploded like lightning. Derek's hand found Tori's elbow as they stepped out. To anyone watching, it looked protective, gentle. Only Tori felt his fingers digging into her flesh. Smile, he whispered. Look happy. Tori smiled. The cameras loved it. Mrs. Derek Ashford, pregnant and glowing. The perfect billionaire's wife. Inside the ballroom, crystal chandeliers cast warm light over hundreds of guests. Women in designer gowns. Men in custom tuxedos. Everyone who was anyone in the city had shown up for this event. Margaret Ashford appeared from the crowd. Derek's mother wore white silk and diamonds. She air-kissed Tori's cheeks without actually touching her skin. Darling, you're... Margaret paused, looking Tori up and down. Glowing. The word hung between them. What Margaret meant was, you're fat. You're ruining my son's image. You're not good enough for this family. Thank you, Margaret, Tori said quietly. Derek's hand was still on her elbow, steering her through the crowd, controlling where she went, who she talked to, how long she stayed in any conversation. Tori saw someone across the room and her face lit up genuinely for the first time that evening. Marcus Webb, an investigative journalist she'd worked with years ago, back when she ran her own nonprofit, back when she had her own career and her own identity. Marcus, she waved. He made his way over, smiling warmly. Tori, it's been too long. How are you? I'm good, really good. She felt Derek's grip tighten on her arm but ignored it. How's the journalism world treating you? Busy. I'm working on a piece about corporate accountability right now. Marcus gestured to her belly. When are you due? 6 weeks. It's a girl. Congratulations. Are you going to go back to nonprofit work after she's born? Tori's eyes lit up. This was the first time in months someone had asked her about her own plans instead of just cooing over the pregnancy. Maybe I've been thinking about it. There's so much work that needs to be done in youth education, and I really miss... My wife is tired. Derek appeared at her side. His smile was tight. Pregnancy brain, you know how it is. She doesn't know what she's saying. Actually, I was just... Tori started. Derek's hand moved from her elbow to her upper arm. His fingers pressed hard enough to leave marks. Excuse us, Marcus. Nice to see you. He pulled Tori away from the conversation. She stumbled slightly, her center of gravity thrown off by her pregnant belly. Derek didn't slow down. I need to use the restroom, Tori said. Fine, don't take forever. She made her way through the crowd toward the hallway that led to the bathrooms. The noise of the gala faded behind her. Her heels clicked on marble floors. She pushed open the restroom door and locked herself in a stall. Her hands were shaking again. She took deep breaths, trying to calm down. The baby kicked repeatedly as if sensing her mother's distress. It's okay, Tori whispered, rubbing her belly. It's okay, we're okay. After a few minutes, she emerged from the stall. She washed her hands and checked her reflection in the mirror. Her makeup was still perfect. Her hair was still in place. On the outside, she looked fine. Tori stepped back into the hallway. Derek was waiting there. Her stomach dropped. You made me look like an idiot, he said. His voice was low, controlled. Talking to that reporter about going back to work. Like you have any idea what you're talking about. I was just making conversation, Derek. He's an old friend. I don't care who he is. You don't get to have opinions in public. You don't get to contradict me. I wasn't contradicting you. I just, shut up. He stepped closer. Do you know how embarrassing it is to have a wife who can't keep her mouth shut? Who acts like she's still some nobody running a failed charity? Derek, people are right inside. They can hear. His hands shot out and grabbed her throat. Tori's back hit the cold marble wall. The chandelier overhead swayed slightly, casting dancing shadows. Derek's fingers pressed into her windpipe. She couldn't breathe. She clawed at his hands, trying to pry them away. The baby kicked frantically. Tori felt each movement like a scream. Help, help us, please. Derek's face was inches from hers. His breath smelled like whiskey. His eyes were black with rage. He squeezed harder. Squeeze, nothing, squeeze. Without me. Tori's vision started to blur. Gray spots appeared at the edges. Her knees buckled, but Derek's grip held her up against the wall. Then voices, running footsteps. Hey, stop! Someone call 911! Two waiters appeared. They grabbed Derek's arms and yanked him backward. His hands released Tori's throat. She crumpled to the floor, gasping. Her hands went to her belly immediately, checking, feeling for movement. The baby kicked. Thank God. The baby was still moving. People crowded into the hallway. Someone was calling for an ambulance. Someone else was taking photos. Derek was being held back by three men now, all of them struggling to control him. Tori looked up through tears. She saw Margaret standing at the edge of the crowd. Derek's mother had her phone out. She was recording, filming her son being restrained, filming Tori on the floor. Their eyes met for just a moment. Margaret's expression was blank. She lowered her phone slowly and put it in her purse. Then everything went dark. Tori woke up in the hospital bed again. How many times now? 3? 4? She lost count. Morning light filtered through the window. The monitor beeped steadily. Her throat ached. Her baby was still moving. Still alive. Someone was sitting in the chair beside her bed. Her father. He was awake, staring at his hands. He looked like he hadn't slept at all. Dad, Tori whispered him. James looked up. His eyes were red. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck. She tried to smile, but it hurt. How long have you been here? All night. I wasn't going to leave you alone. Tori reached for the cup of water on the bedside table. James handed it to her carefully. She sipped slowly, the cool liquid soothing her damaged throat. The police want another statement, James said. But I told them it could wait. You need rest. Dad, I need to tell you something. Okay? This wasn't the first time. James went very still. What do you mean? Tori set down the water cup. Her hands were steady now. She'd spent all night thinking about this conversation, preparing for it, knowing it had to happen. I need you to listen. All of it, from the beginning. I'm listening. I'm in. She started to talk about last night, but James stopped her. No, he said quietly. From when it started. Tell me everything. Tori took a deep breath. The hospital room was quiet except for the monitors beeping. Rain had started to fall outside, tapping gently against the window. The coffee James had been drinking earlier sat forgotten on the table, long since gone cold. 6 months after we got married, Tori began, I asked him to come to my nonprofit's fundraiser. He said he was too busy with work. I said it was important to me. He threw his phone at the wall. James's jaw tightened, but he didn't interrupt. The phone shattered. Glass everywhere. He looked at it, then looked at me and said, Tori's voice caught. He said, look what you made me do. What did you do? James asked. I cleaned up the glass. I apologized. I told myself he was under a lot of pressure at work, that it was just a bad day. When was the next time? Tori closed her eyes, remembering. 3 months later, I wanted to visit you for Christmas. He said we had to spend it with his mother. I said maybe we could split the holidays. He punched a hole in the wall next to my head. The monitor beeped. The rain fell. James waited. Year 2, the objects he threw started getting closer to me. A glass that shattered near my feet. A plate that hit the counter next to where I was standing. Always with that same line. Look what you made me do. Did you tell anyone? James's voice was carefully controlled. I told Becca once. She said I should leave. I got defensive. I said she didn't understand. That every marriage has rough patches. Tori opened her eyes and looked at her father. I didn't talk to her for 3 months after that. Derek was so happy when we weren't speaking. What happened in year 3? He twisted my wrist during an argument. Said it was an accident. I had to wear a brace for 2 weeks. Told everyone I slipped in on the stairs. Tori touched her belly. That's when I found out I was pregnant. And you thought a baby would make things better, James said softly. I thought maybe it would calm him down. Give him something to focus on besides work and me and everything I was doing wrong. She laughed bitterly. I wasn't stupid, Dad. I knew I was being stupid. Does that make sense? Yes, James said. It makes perfect sense. I made excuses, Tori thought, for everything. Every thrown object, every hole in the wall, every time his hand got too rough or his words cut too deep. I had a reason for all of it. Work stress, family pressure, my fault for not being good enough, thin enough, quiet enough. The pregnancy made it worse, she continued. He hated that I was getting bigger. Hated that I was tired all the time. Hated that I couldn't drink at his business dinners or wear the clothes he wanted me to wear. Did he ever hit you before last night? Not with a closed fist, but he grabbed me, pushed me, squeezed my arms hard enough to leave bruises I had to cover with makeup. Tori's voice dropped to a whisper. Last month, he shoved me into the kitchen counter. I told Dr. Hoffman I tripped. James stood up abruptly. He walked to the window and stared out at the rain. His hands were clenched into fists at his sides. I should have seen it, he said. I should have known. I didn't want you to know. Derek isolated me really well. Every time I tried to make plans with you, he'd schedule something else. A business trip, a dinner party, his mother visiting. There was always a reason why I couldn't see you. When was the last time we had lunch? Just the two of us. Tori thought about it. Before the wedding. 3 years ago. Yeah, James turned back to face her. I'm going to fix this, baby girl, I promise you that. How? He's a billionaire, Dad. He has lawyers and PR people, and I have $800 million and 30 years of connections in this city. I know every investor, every board member, every person who matters in Derek's world. James's voice was cold and calm. I'm going to take everything from him. There was a knock on the hospital door. A woman entered without waiting for an answer. Diane Sullivan, James's chief investment officer for the past 15 years. She carried a leather portfolio under one arm. I came as soon as I got your message, Diane said. She looked at Tori in the hospital bed, and her professional expression softened. How are you feeling, honey? I've been better. Diane set the portfolio on the table and pulled out a tablet. I pulled Derek Ashford's financials, everything that's publicly available, and a few things that aren't. How'd you get the private information? James asked. I have my sources. Diane's smile was sharp. Derek's net worth is approximately $2.3 billion. Most of it is tied up in his tech company, Ashford Innovations. He has a diversified portfolio of real estate, stocks, and offshore holdings. She swiped through several screens. The interesting part is that his company went public 3 years ago. That means he's beholden to shareholders and a board of directors. If his stock price drops significantly, he loses control. What would cause the stock to drop? Tori asked. Scandal, loss of investor confidence, criminal charges, any combination of those things. Diane looked at James. Are you sure you want to do this? If we go after him this way, you'll spend a significant portion of your fortune. Maybe all of it. I don't care. It could take years. It could get very ugly. I said I don't care. James sat back down next to Tori's bed. My daughter and my grandchild are worth more than any amount of money. The door opened again. Marcus Webb, the journalist from the Gala, stood in the doorway. He looked uncertain. I'm sorry to interrupt. The nurse said I could come back for a few minutes. I wanted to see how you're doing, Tori. Marcus, come in. He entered slowly, taking in the bruises on her neck, the hospital equipment, her pregnant belly. His face hardened. I've been working on a story about Derek for 6 months, Marcus said without preamble. Corporate fraud, embezzlement, questionable business practices. But I couldn't get enough solid evidence to publish. Until now. He pulled out his own tablet. Last night's assault was caught on camera by dozens of people. That video has been viewed 50 million times at this point. The footage is incontrovertible. He tried to strangle his 8 months pregnant wife in public. His lawyers are already spinning it, Tori said, saying I'm unstable. They can spin all they want. I've interviewed 4 of Derek's former employees in the past week. 2 of them will go on record about his violent temper. 3 of them suspect financial irregularities. Marcus looked at James. If you're planning something, I want in. This story needs to be told. I'm planning to destroy him, James said flatly. Good. There was another knock. Everyone looked at the door. A man in his early 50s entered. He wore an expensive suit and carried a briefcase. Gregory Whitman, Derek's business manager for the past decade. Tori's heart started racing. What are you doing here? I'm done, Gregory said simply. He set his briefcase on the table and opened it. I've worked for Derek Ashford for 10 years. I've watched him bully employees. I've covered up his affairs. I've paid off people he's hurt. But this, he gestured toward Tori, this is too far. I'm done protecting him. He pulled out a thick folder. Derek has been embezzling from his own company. $200 million over the past 5 years, funneled into offshore accounts. I have all the documentation, account numbers, wire transfers, everything. The room went silent. If that information goes public, Diane said slowly, his company will collapse. The SEC will investigate. He could face federal charges. Yes, Gregory said. Why are you doing this? James asked. Gregory looked at Tori. Because I have 2 daughters, and I can't look at them anymore knowing I've been helping a monster. James stood and took the folder. He flipped through the pages, his expression unreadable. Then he looked at Diane, Marcus, and Gregory. We need a plan, a strategy. We can't just throw accusations around and hope they stick. We need to be smart about this. He pulled out his phone. I'm calling my lawyer, and I know a judge who might be willing to help us navigate the legal side. Diane opened her tablet again. If we're doing this, we need to move fast. Start with the SEC tip, anonymous at first. Let them start sniffing around Derek's finances. That creates pressure. I can start writing the article, Marcus said. I'll reach out to my sources, get more former employees on record, build a pattern of abusive behavior. I'll testify in any legal proceedings, Gregory added. I have emails, recorded phone calls, text messages, all of it. Tori listened to them plan. These people, some of whom she barely knew, were ready to go to war for her, against one of the richest, most powerful men in the city. Dad, she said quietly, this is going to cost you everything. James looked at his daughter. You are my everything. This piece of garbage tried to kill you and my grandchild. He doesn't get to walk away from that. Diane cleared her throat. James, if we're being realistic, destroying Derek completely will cost approximately $800 million. Maybe more. That's your entire liquid fortune. Everything you've built over 30 years. Do it. You'll have nothing left. No retirement. No, I said do it. The room fell silent again. Then Gregory dropped another folder onto the table. This one was thinner, but somehow more ominous. There's something else you should know, he said. Derek has been seeing another woman for the past year. A model named Amber Collins. He's been paying her rent, buying her gifts, spending company money on her. Tori's hands moved to her belly instinctively. The baby kicked as if reminding her mother that she was there. Still safe. Still alive. Does Margaret know? Tori asked. Yes, she's been helping him hide it. Of course she has, Tori thought. Margaret would do anything to protect her son. Even help him betray his pregnant wife. James looked at everyone in the room. We move forward, all of us. We take him down from every angle. Legal, financial, public opinion. We don't stop until he has nothing left. Agreed, Diane said. Agreed, Marcus echoed. Agreed, Gregory finished. They spent the next 3 hours planning. Diane outlined a financial strategy that would systematically destroy Derek's wealth. Marcus detailed his investigative approach, identifying key witnesses and evidence. Gregory provided insider knowledge of Derek's business operations and personal weaknesses. By the time they finished, the rain had stopped. Late afternoon sun filtered through the hospital window. Tori felt exhausted, but also something else. Something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer it, but something made her pick up. Victoria? Derek's voice was cold. I know your father is there. I know you're planning something. It won't work. I have the best lawyers in the country. I have connections you can't imagine. You will come home, or I will take that baby the moment she's born, and you'll never see her again. Tori looked at her father, at Diane, Marcus, and Gregory, at the folders full of evidence spread across the table. No, Derek, she said calmly. I won't come home, and you're never going to hurt me or my daughter again. She hung up before he could respond. Derek's counterattack came fast and brutal. By the next morning, Tori's medical records were somehow leaked to the press. Fabricated notes about her emotional instability and erratic behavior appeared on gossip websites. A psychologist Derek had never actually treated Tori publicly stated she had concerns about postpartum psychosis risk. Tori sat in her father's guest house, staring at her laptop screen. The headlines scrolled past, each one worse than the last. Billionaire's wife, a history of mental illness. Sources say Victoria Ashford threatened suicide multiple times. Derek Ashford, fighting for his unborn child's safety. None of it was true. All of it was devastating. Her phone rang constantly, reporters wanting statements, old acquaintances wanting gossip, Derek's lawyers leaving voicemails about custody arrangements. Social media was worse. The hashtag gold digger trended worldwide. Thousands of people who'd never met her were calling her a liar, a manipulator, a woman who'd trapped a good man with a pregnancy. Becca arrived at noon with Chinese food and wine. Well, wine for Becca, sparkling water for Tori. Don't read the comments, Becca said, setting down the bags. Too late. Tori, you know none of that's real, right? It's all Derek's PR machine. They're doing damage control. It's working. Tori gestured to her laptop. Look at this. 10,000 comments calling me a liar. People saying I deserved it, that I probably provoked him. Becca grabbed the laptop and closed it firmly. Those people are idiots who've never been in an abusive relationship. They don't matter. They do matter. Derek's building a public case that I'm unstable, that I'm an unfit mother. When it goes to court, we'll have actual evidence. Medical records showing your injuries. Witnesses who saw him attack you. Gregory's financial documents. Marcus's investigative reporting. Becca opened the takeout containers. You need to eat. The baby needs you to eat. Tori picked at the fried rice. She wasn't hungry. She hadn't been hungry in days. Everything tasted like cardboard. Her phone buzzed with a new email notification. It was from her bank. She opened it and felt her stomach drop. He blocked me out of our joint accounts. What? All of them. Checking, savings, credit cards, everything. Tori scrolled through her banking app with shaking hands. I have $300 in my personal account. That's it. That bastard, he can't do that legally. He's doing it anyway. Tori set down her phone. How am I supposed to pay for a lawyer, for an apartment, after the baby's born, for anything? Your dad, my dad is spending everything he has to take Derek down. I can't ask him for more. Becca grabbed Tori's hands. Listen to me. You're not alone in this. You have people who love you and will help you. Money doesn't matter right now. Keeping you and that baby safe matters. There was a knock at the guest house door. Becca went to answer it. Dr. Hoffman stood on the doorstep, looking uncharacteristically nervous. I'm sorry to show up unannounced, she said, but I needed to see you in person, Tori. Come in. Is something wrong with the baby? No, the baby's fine. Dr. Hoffman sat down heavily. Derek's lawyers sent a cease and desist letter to my office this morning. They're threatening to sue me for releasing your medical records without permission. But you didn't release anything. I know that. You know that. But they're putting pressure on me to change my testimony, to say that your injuries could have been self-inflicted, that your emotional state has been unstable throughout the pregnancy. Tori felt ice spreading through her chest. Will you? Dr. Hoffman looked offended. Absolutely not. I documented everything, Tori. Every bruise you explained away as clumsiness, every injury that didn't match your story, every time you flinched when I touched your arm. I knew what was happening, even if you weren't ready to admit it. She pulled a thumb drive from her purse. This is a complete copy of your medical file, the real one, including photos I took of injuries you tried to hide, notes I made after our appointments. Everything. You could lose your license for this. Then I lose it. I became a doctor to help people. You're my patient, and you need help. Dr. Hoffman pressed the drive into Tori's hand. Use this. Show the truth. After she left, Tori held the thumb drive like it was made of gold. Here was evidence that couldn't be fabricated or spun. Medical proof of what Derek had done over 3 years of marriage. Her phone rang. Unknown number again. She almost didn't answer, but Becca nodded at her to pick it up. Hello? Mrs. Ashford, my name is Judge Patricia Brennan. Your father gave me your number. I hope you don't mind the intrusion. Judge Brennan, no, of course not. I wanted to call personally to let you know I've been assigned to your custody case. I can't discuss the details of the case itself, but I wanted you to know that I have a zero-tolerance policy for domestic violence. The judge's voice was firm. Make sure your lawyer files for emergency custody the day your daughter is born. Don't wait. I will, thank you. One more thing, document everything, every phone call, every text message, every interaction with Derek or his family. Everything matters in court. After Judge Brennan hung up, Tori looked at Becca. People are helping us, she said quietly. Dr. Hoffman, Gregory, Marcus, now a judge. Why? Because what Derek did to you was evil, and people recognize evil when they see it. Over the next week, James's strategy began to unfold. Diane filed an anonymous tip with the Securities and Exchange Commission about suspicious offshore accounts connected to Ashford Innovations. The SEC opened a preliminary investigation. Marcus reached out to former employees of Derek's company. 3 agreed to go on record about his violent temper and abusive management style. 2 more provided information about financial irregularities they'd witnessed. Gregory compiled his documentation. Bank statements, wire transfer records, emails where Derek explicitly discussed moving company money into personal accounts. And James started making phone calls. He called every major investor in Ashford Innovations, casually mentioned the SEC investigation, asked if they'd seen the viral video of Derek strangling his pregnant wife, wondered aloud about the company's future stability. He called business partners, suggested they might want to reconsider their deals with Derek, said he'd hate to see their reputations damaged by association. He called board members, reminded them of their fiduciary duty to shareholders, questioned whether Derek's personal problems were affecting his judgment. Within 5 days, Ashford Innovations stock dropped 12%. Derek didn't see it coming at first. He was too focused on the public relations battle on spinning the story of his unstable wife to notice the financial pressure building. But his investors noticed. Phone calls started coming in, concerned questions about the SEC inquiry, requests for meetings, thinly veiled threats about pulling funding. Derek's carefully constructed empire was starting to crack. 2 weeks after the Gala incident, Tori sat in a conference room with her new lawyer, Catherine Mills. Catherine was 55, brilliant, and known for destroying abusive husbands in divorce court. Across from them sat Derek's legal team, 3 lawyers in expensive suits, led by Robert Chen, a man famous for defending the indefensible. My client is willing to be generous, Chen said, sliding papers across the table. He'll agree to a divorce with a settlement of $2 million. Mrs. Ashford will retain custody of the child with Derek receiving standard visitation rights. Catherine didn't even look at the papers. Absolutely not. I'm sorry? My client rejects your offer entirely. Mr. Ashford strangled his 8 months pregnant wife in front of hundreds of witnesses. He's currently under investigation for embezzlement. He's not getting anywhere near this child without supervised visitation, and the settlement will be substantially higher than $2 million. Chen's smile was condescending. Mrs. Ashford should consider her position carefully. She has no income, no assets of her own, and a history of mental health concerns. She has no history of mental health concerns. She has a history of being abused by your client. There's a difference. That's your opinion. It's documented fact. Catherine opened her own folder. We have 3 years of medical records showing injuries consistent with domestic violence. We have testimony from Dr. Sarah Hoffman describing a pattern of abuse. We have statements from multiple witnesses at the Gala. We have video footage watched by 60 million people showing your client attempting to murder his wife. Tori watched Chen's face carefully. His smile didn't waver, but something flickered in his eyes. We also have something else, Catherine continued. She pulled out a recording device and pressed play. Derek's voice filled the conference room. I know your father is there. I know you're planning something. It won't work. I have the best lawyers in the country. I have connections you can't imagine. You will come home, or I will take that baby the moment she's born, and you'll never see her again. Tori's voice responded, No, Derek, I won't come home, and you're never going to hurt me or my daughter again. Catherine stopped the recording. That's witness intimidation and a threat. We have the phone records to prove it came from your client. The three lawyers on Derek's side exchanged glances. Chen cleared his throat. We'll need to discuss this with our client and get back to you. You do that, Catherine gathered her papers, and tell Mr. Ashford that if he contacts my client again in any way, I'll file for a restraining order so fast it'll make his head spin. They stood to leave. As Tori reached the door, Chen called out, One more thing, Mrs. Ashford. She turned back. Your father's little financial games won't work. Derek has resources beyond anything your dad can touch. This crusade you're on will end badly for everyone. Maybe, Tori said, but Derek will end worse. That evening, Tori sat in her father's home office while he worked through paperwork. The sun was setting outside, casting long shadows across the room. Dad, can I ask you something? Of course. Why are you doing this? Really? I know you love me, but $800 million? That's your entire life's work. James set down his pen and looked at his daughter. Do you remember your 10th birthday party? The one where Mom organized the treasure hunt? Yes, you fell and scraped your knee pretty badly. You were crying and your mother was trying to clean it up. You kept saying, I'm okay, but we could all see you weren't. You were hurting, but you didn't want to worry us. I don't remember that part. I do. Your mother looked at me and said, she gets that from you, always trying to be strong for everyone else. James's eyes were distant, remembering. You've been doing that your whole life, baby girl, being strong, not complaining, not asking for help, even when you needed it desperately. I thought I could handle Derek, that I could fix him. I know, but you can't fix people who don't want to be fixed. You can only save yourself. He stood and walked to the window. When your mother was dying, she made me promise something. She said to take care of our girl. Don't let anyone hurt her. I failed that promise. I let Derek isolate you. I let him control you. I didn't see what was happening until it was almost too late. That's not your fault. Maybe not, but I can fix it now. That's what this money is for, Tori. It's not for yachts or fancy cars or any of that nonsense. It's for protecting the people I love. That's all that matters. Tori stood and hugged her father. She felt his arms wrap around her carefully, mindful of her pregnant belly. Thank you, Daddy. Don't thank me yet. We still have a long fight ahead. Later that night, Tori's phone buzzed with a new voicemail. She almost deleted it without listening, but the number looked familiar. She pressed play. A woman's voice, shaking and scared. Mrs. Ashford, my name is Jennifer Torres. I used to date Derek. Before you. He hurt me too. I signed a non-disclosure agreement. He paid me $500,000 to never talk about what happened, but I saw the video from the gala, and I can't stay silent anymore. If you need someone to testify about his history, I'll do it. I'll break the NDA. I don't care about the money. Call me back if you want to talk. Tori saved the voicemail and forwarded it to Catherine Mills immediately. Then she lay back on the guest house bed and felt her daughter kick. Strong, insistent movements that said, I'm here, Mom. I'm still here. I'm not going to let him win, Tori whispered to her belly. I promise you that. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from an unknown number. A photo appeared. It showed Tori leaving Dr. Hoffman's office earlier that day. Below it, a message. We're watching you. Come home. Tori's hands shook as she forwarded the text to Catherine and to the police. This was harassment, stalking, another crime to add to Derek's growing list, but it was also terrifying. She called her father. Dad, can I sleep in the main house tonight? I don't want to be alone. Of course, come over right now. Tori grabbed her essentials and walked the short path from the guest house to her father's home. The night was cold and clear, stars overhead, normal sounds of the city in the distance. But she felt eyes watching her, following her every movement. She walked faster. The next few weeks became a blur of legal meetings, doctor appointments, and constant anxiety. Derek's PR campaign intensified. Every day brought new fake stories, doctored photos, or statements from friends who claimed Tori had always been unstable. The online harassment was relentless. Someone doxed her father's address. Protesters showed up outside the gate with signs defending Derek. Paparazzi camped in bushes, photographing her every time she left the house. Tori stopped leaving the house. She spent her days in the nursery her father had set up in his guest house, painting the walls a soft yellow, organizing tiny clothes, folding and refolding baby blankets, building the crib even though she was 8.5 months pregnant and could barely reach the screws. Becca found her one afternoon sitting on the floor surrounded by baby socks. "Tori, what are you doing?" "Organizing." Tori held up 2 nearly identical white socks. "These ones have pink trim. These ones have pink polka dots. They shouldn't be mixed together." "Okay, but you've been organizing those same socks for 2 hours. I need them to be right." Becca sat down on the floor beside her friend. She took the socks gently from Tori's hands and set them aside. "Talk to me, really talk to me." Tori's hands immediately went to sort another drawer. Becca stopped her. "Tori, I'm fine. I just need everything to be organized before the baby comes. I need to have control over something because I can't control anything else. The news is saying I'm crazy. Derek's lawyers are threatening to take my baby. His mother is on television every day calling me a liar. Someone left a dead rat on Dad's doorstep yesterday with a note that said gold digger. And her voice cracked. I can't stop organizing these stupid socks." She was crying now. Becca pulled her into a hug. "You're not fine, and that's okay. You don't have to be fine right now. I'm supposed to be strong for the baby, for my dad, for everyone who's helping me. Being strong doesn't mean not breaking down. It means breaking down and then getting back up." Becca held her tighter. "Let yourself fall apart for a minute. I've got you." Tori sobbed into her best friend's shoulder. All the fear and anger and grief she'd been holding back for weeks poured out. She cried for the marriage she'd thought she'd have, for the man she'd thought Derek was, for the future she'd imagined that would never exist now. When the tears finally stopped, she felt emptied out, hollow, but also somehow lighter. "Thank you," she whispered. "That's what friends are for." That night at 3 a.m, Tori couldn't sleep. The baby was doing gymnastics in her belly. Or maybe Tori was just too anxious to relax. She got out of bed and walked to the nursery. The room was dark except for moonlight through the window. She sat in the rocking chair and looked around at everything she'd prepared. The crib with its soft yellow blankets. The changing table stocked with diapers and wipes. The bookshelf full of picture books. She'd done all of this imagining Derek would be here, that they'd be a family, that he'd hold their daughter and suddenly become the man she'd always hoped he could be. "I'm sorry," Tori said to her belly. "I'm so sorry I chose him." The baby kicked in response. Your grandmother would know what to do. She always knew what to do. Tori touched the small photo on the bookshelf. Her mother smiling, holding infant Tori. She used to say that being a mother means making impossible choices. That you'll always wonder if you did the right thing. But that love makes up for most mistakes. She picked up a tiny onesie, white with yellow ducks. She folded it carefully, then unfolded it and folded it again. Her hands needed something to do. "I used to run marathons before I met your father. Did you know that? I ran 3 marathons in 2 years. I was training for a 4th when I met Derek. He said marathons were a waste of time, that I should focus on more important things. So I stopped running. Fold, unfold, fold again. I used to have friends, lots of them. I had lunch dates and book clubs and girls' nights. Derek said my friends were a bad influence, that they didn't understand our lifestyle. One by one, I stopped seeing them until only Becca was left, and I almost lost her too." The onesie was perfectly folded now. Tori set it down and picked up another. "I used to have opinions about politics and charity work and what restaurant we should go to for dinner. Derek said my opinions made me sound stupid, that I embarrassed him, so I stopped having opinions. I just agreed with whatever he said. She realized she was crying again, silent tears running down her face. I used to be someone, baby girl. I was Victoria Caldwell. I ran nonprofits. I helped people. I was smart and capable and strong. Then I became Mrs. Derek Ashford, and I forgot how to be Victoria. The rain had started falling, but outside, soft pattering against the window. Tori's hands moved methodically, folding and organizing, creating order from chaos because it was the only thing she could control. Your grandfather is spending his entire fortune to protect us. Dr. Hoffman risked her medical license. Gregory quit his job. Marcus is writing articles that might get him sued. Becca defied Derek's cease and desist letter. All these people are fighting for us. She pressed her hand against her belly. And I'm sitting here folding baby clothes at 3 in the morning because I don't know what else to do. A memory surfaced, her mother's last coherent conversation before the cancer took her. They'd been sitting in the hospital room, much like the one Tori had woken up in after the gala. Her mother's hand was frail, almost translucent. Baby girl, promise me something. Anything, Mom. Never let anyone make you small. The world will try, men will try, even other women will try. They'll want you to shrink yourself down to make them comfortable. Don't do it. Take up space. Use your voice. Be big and loud and unapologetically yourself. I promise, Mom. But she'd broken that promise. She'd let Derek make her small. She'd shrunk herself down until there was almost nothing left. Tori stood up from the rocking chair. She walked to the window and looked out at the rain. Her reflection stared back at her, tired eyes, bruises fading on her throat. A pregnant belly that seemed impossibly large. But she was still here, still standing, still fighting. I broke my promise, she said to her mother's memory, but I can fix this. I can be big again. For both of us. The next morning, Tori had an appointment with Dr. Hoffman. She drove there with Becca, taking back roads to avoid paparazzi. Dr. Hoffman did the usual checkup, blood pressure, heart rate, measuring the belly, then the ultrasound. Your daughter is doing great, Dr. Hoffman said, pointing at the screen. Good, strong heartbeat. She's in position. You could go into labor anytime now. How's everything else? Tori asked carefully. Dr. Hoffman's expression became serious. She adjusted the ultrasound wand slightly. Tori, there's bruising on your cervix from the assault at the gala. It's healing, but it's still visible. Will she be okay? The baby? The baby is fine, but you're at increased risk during delivery. If there are complications, the bruising could cause additional bleeding. She paused. More importantly, if Derek gets anywhere near you, if he stresses you out or threatens you, it could trigger early labor. Your body is already under tremendous strain. So what do? You stay away from him, completely. No contact, no visits, nothing. Until after the baby is born and you've recovered. Dr. Hoffman shut off the ultrasound machine. I'm going to document all of this for your custody case. The court needs to know that Derek's violence has had lasting physical effects beyond the visible bruises. After the appointment, Tori and Becca stopped for lunch at a quiet cafe. They sat in a back corner, away from windows, away from cameras. Are you scared? Becca asked. About giving birth? Terrified, not of the actual birth, but of what comes after. The custody fight. Yeah, what if Derek finds a way to take her? What if a judge doesn't believe me? What if... Stop, you can't think like that. Becca reached across the table and squeezed Tori's hand. You have evidence. You have witnesses. You have video footage. Derek strangled you in public. No judge in their right mind would give him custody. But he has money. Connections. He could make me disappear if he wanted to. He could try, but you have your dad, you have me, you have an army of people ready to fight for you. Becca's voice was fierce. Derek doesn't get to win. We won't let him. Tori wanted to believe that. She wanted to trust that justice would prevail. But she'd seen too much of Derek's power. Seen how easily he manipulated situations and people. Her phone buzzed, a news alert. Billionaire Derek Ashford announces major charitable donation to children's cancer research. Tori clicked the article. There was Derek, standing in front of cameras, looking humble and generous. His mother beside him, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. In light of recent personal difficulties, I want to refocus on what truly matters, Derek said in the video. Helping children in need. My wife and I have had our struggles, but I want to move forward with grace and compassion. My wife, like they were still together, like he hadn't tried to kill her. He's rebranding, Tori said quietly. Look at this. Suddenly he's a philanthropist, a devoted father-to-be, the victim of a difficult situation. Becca read over her shoulder. This is disgusting. It's brilliant. He's getting ahead of the story. When our evidence comes out, he'll already have public sympathy. Then we need to get our evidence out faster. That evening, Tori returned to her father's house to find him in a meeting with Diane, Marcus, and Catherine Mills. They were in the study, papers spread across every surface. What's happening? Tori asked. Derek's filing for custody tomorrow morning, Catherine said without preamble. We just got the notice. He's claiming you're an unfit mother due to mental health issues and that the baby would be safer in his care. Tori felt the room spin. He can't do that. She's not even born yet. He's preemptively filing. It's unusual but not illegal. He's trying to establish his parental rights before you can file against him. So what do? We file our own petition tonight. Emergency custody with supervised visitation only for Derek. We'll submit all our evidence, the medical records, the witness statements, the financial documents, everything. Marcus looked up from his laptop. I'm publishing my article tonight too. Before Derek can control the narrative any more than he already has, it's time people knew the truth about him. The SEC investigation is progressing, Diane said. They've frozen 3 of Derek's offshore accounts. His investors are getting nervous. The stock dropped another 8% today. James stood and put his arm around Tori's shoulders. We're hitting him from every angle, baby girl. He won't know what hit him. What if it's not enough? Tori's voice was small. What if he still wins? He won't, her father said firmly. I promise you that. Time. At 9 o'clock that night, Marcus Webb's article went live on the website of a major national newspaper. The headline read, The Real Derek Ashford, a pattern of violence, abuse, and financial crime. Tori sat with Becca and her father reading it on her laptop. Marcus had done his job well. The article detailed Derek's history of violent behavior, starting with his college years when he'd been suspended for fighting. It included statements from 4 ex-girlfriends, all of whom described similar patterns of control, isolation, and escalating violence. Jennifer Torres was quoted extensively. She described the night Derek had broken her wrist and then paid her $500,000 to sign an NDA and disappear from his life. 3 former employees talked about witnessing Derek's explosive temper at work. One described him throwing a laptop at an intern's head. Another detailed how Derek had verbally abused his female assistant until she quit without notice. The article included stills from the Gala security footage. Derek's hands around Tori's throat, her pregnant belly clearly visible, her face contorted in fear and pain. Then it detailed the financial irregularities, the offshore accounts, the suspicious wire transfers, the $200 million that couldn't be accounted for. Gregory Whitman was quoted, I worked for Derek Ashford for 10 years. I watched him become a monster. I watched him hurt people and pay them off. I watched him steal from his own company. And I did nothing because I was afraid. But I'm not afraid anymore. The truth needs to be told. The article ended with a simple statement. Derek Ashford strangled his 8 months pregnant wife in public. This was not an isolated incident. This was not a moment of madness. This was the inevitable result of years of unchecked violence enabled by money and power. Victoria Ashford survived. Many of Derek's victims were not so fortunate. Within an hour, the article had been shared 10,000 times. Within 2 hours, Derek's company issued a statement denying everything and threatening legal action. Within 3 hours, 2 more women had come forward with their own stories of abuse. By midnight, Derek's stock had dropped another 15%. Tori read and reread the article. Seeing her story told so clearly, so publicly, was both terrifying and liberating. There was no going back now. The truth was out there for everyone to see. Her phone rang. Unknown number, she answered it anyway. You've made a huge mistake. Derek's voice was ice cold. That article is full of lies. I will sue that reporter into poverty. I will sue you. I will sue your father, and when I'm done, I will take our daughter, and you will never see her again. You don't scare me anymore, Tori said. Her voice was steady. I should, because you have no idea what I'm capable of. I know exactly what you're capable of. The whole world knows now. The world will forget in a week. Celebrity scandals always blow over. But I don't forget, and I don't forgive. Good, Tori said. Neither do I. She hung up and blocked the number. Becca was staring at her. That was incredibly brave. No, it was necessary. Tori stood up. I need to go to bed. I have a feeling tomorrow is going to be a very long day. She was right. The next morning, Tori woke up to her phone exploding with notifications. Derek's lawyers had filed their custody petition as promised. But Catherine Mills had filed Tori's petition at midnight, getting it in first. Emergency hearing scheduled for 2 days from now. Judge Patricia Brennan presiding. Tori read through the legal documents with Catherine in her father's study. The words seemed to blur together. Unfit mother, mental instability, risk to child, supervised visitation. They're asking for full custody, Tori said, with me only getting supervised visits. Yes, and we're asking for the exact opposite. Full custody to you with supervised visits only for Derek. Catherine flipped through papers efficiently. We have a stronger case, significantly stronger, but we need to be prepared for anything. There was a commotion outside, raised voices, someone shouting. James went to the window and looked out. There are news vans outside the gate, at least 20 of them. Marcus's article had done its job. The media circus had officially begun. Over the next 48 hours, Tori's legal team worked around the clock to prepare for the emergency custody hearing. Catherine assembled a binder of evidence that was 6 inches thick. Medical records from Dr. Hoffman showing years of documented injuries. Photos of bruises that Tori had insisted were accidents. Notes about her flinching during exams. Records of the cervical bruising from the strangulation. Witness statements from 17 people who'd been at the gala. All of them describing the assault in graphic detail. Several mentioned that Derek had been drinking heavily. 2 said they'd heard him make threats earlier in the evening. The security footage from the gala, undoctored, unedited, crystal clear evidence of attempted murder. Gregory Whitman's testimony about the embezzlement, bank records, wire transfers, email chains where Derek discussed hiding money from investors, and the IRS Marcus Webb's investigative reporting. The 4 ex-girlfriends, the former employees, the pattern of violence spanning more than a decade. Jennifer Torres's statement about her NDA and the $500,000 payoff. She'd included photos of her medical records from the night Derek broke her wrist, phone records of Derek's threatening calls to Tori, the recordings Catherine had made, transcripts of text messages, and finally Margaret Ashford's video, the one she'd filmed at the gala. Gregory had gotten a copy from Derek's phone before turning over his evidence. It showed everything. Derek following Tori into the hallway, the assault, Margaret filming it all and doing nothing to help. This is damning, Catherine said. All of it. If the judge sees half of this evidence, Derek will be lucky to get supervised visits once a month. What about his evidence? Tori asked. Fabricated medical records we can easily disprove. Statements from people he's paid off. Standard deflection tactics. Catherine closed the binder. He's going to try to make you look unstable and vindictive. But we have facts. He has lies. Facts win in family court. The night before the hearing, Tori couldn't sleep. She lay in bed feeling her daughter kick and move. So active, so alive. So unaware of the battle being fought over her future. Tomorrow your fate gets decided, Tori whispered. A judge is going to look at evidence and make a choice about whether your father gets to be near you. I hope she makes the right choice. I hope she sees him for what he really is. The baby kicked hard against her ribs. I know. You're not worried. You're safe in there, but out here, Tori's voice cracked. Out here, it's scary. Out here, people believe lies because the liar is rich and charming. Out here, justice doesn't always win. But it has to win this time, she thought. It has to. So The morning of the hearing, Tori dressed carefully in a navy blue maternity dress. Conservative, professional. She covered the fading bruises on her throat with light makeup. Catherine had advised her to look as normal and stable as possible. "Let your evidence speak for you," Catherine had said. "You just need to be calm and truthful." They arrived at the courthouse at 8:30. The hearing was scheduled for 9. The building was surrounded by news cameras and reporters shouting questions. "Mrs. Ashford, do you think you'll get custody? Is it true Derek offered you $10 million to drop the case? How do you respond to allegations of mental instability?" Tori kept her head down and let her father and Catherine guide her through the crowd. Inside the courthouse was quieter but no less tense. Derek was already there with his legal team. 3 lawyers in expensive suits. Derek himself wore a perfectly tailored dark suit and a somber expression. He looked like the grieving husband, the concerned father, the victim of circumstances beyond his control. When Tori walked past him, he looked directly at her. His expression didn't change, but his eyes were full of rage, promises of revenge. "You'll pay for this." She looked away and kept walking. They entered the courtroom. Judge Brennan was already seated at the bench, reading through documents. She was in her mid-50s, with short gray hair and sharp eyes behind reading glasses. "All parties present?" she asked without looking up. "Yes, Your Honor," both legal teams responded. "Good. Let's begin. This is an emergency custody hearing regarding the minor child of Victoria Caldwell Ashford and Derek Ashford. The child has not yet been born. Due date is approximately 2 weeks from today." Judge Brennan looked up. "I've reviewed both petitions. Mrs. Ashford is seeking full custody with supervised visitation only for Mr. Ashford. Mr. Ashford is seeking full custody with supervised visitation only for Mrs. Ashford. Both parties claim the other is unfit." She removed her glasses and looked at both sides of the courtroom. "I will hear evidence from both parties. I will ask questions. I will make a determination based on what I believe is in the best interest of this child. This is not a trial. This is not about your marriage or your personal grievances with each other. This is about protecting an innocent child. Do you both understand?" "Yes, Your Honor," both sides said. "Mr. Chen, you filed second, so Mrs. Mills will present her case first. Mrs. Mills, proceed." Catherine stood. "Your Honor, we have substantial evidence that Derek Ashford poses a direct and immediate threat to both Victoria Ashford and her unborn child. We have medical documentation of years of domestic violence. We have video evidence of attempted murder. We have testimony from multiple witnesses, and we have evidence that Mr. Ashford has been embezzling from his own company, demonstrating a pattern of criminal behavior." She presented the thick binder of evidence to the judge. Judge Brennan spent 45 minutes reviewing it. The courtroom was silent except for the sound of pages turning. Tori watched the judge's face carefully. No expression, no reaction, just focused attention. Finally, Judge Brennan looked up. "Mr. Chen, does your client dispute that he physically assaulted Mrs. Ashford at the Children's Cancer Gala on the evening of October 1st? "Your Honor, my client admits that an unfortunate altercation occurred. However, he maintains that his wife was experiencing a mental health crisis and he was attempting to restrain her for her own safety and the safety of their child." He was attempting to restrain her by strangling her? "My client denies strangling Mrs. Ashford. He placed his hands on her shoulders to calm her down. She pulled away violently and injured herself." Judge Brennan played the security footage on the courtroom's large screen. Everyone watched as Derek's hands wrapped around Tori's throat, watched as she clawed at his hands, watched as her knees buckled. "That does not appear to be a man placing his hands on someone's shoulders, Mr. Chen." Chen stood. "Your Honor, the video can be interpreted multiple ways. My client maintains..." "Your client maintains that reality is not reality. I'm not interested in his interpretations." Judge Brennan turned to Catherine. "Call your first witness." Dr. Sarah Hoffman took the stand. She was sworn in, and Catherine began questioning her. "Dr. Hoffman, how long have you been Victoria Ashford's obstetrician?" 2 years, since she first became pregnant." "During that time, did you observe any signs of physical abuse?" "Yes, multiple instances." Dr. Hoffman pulled out her notes. "At her 8-week appointment, At a point, Victoria had bruising on her upper arms consistent with being grabbed forcefully. She said she'd bumped into a door. At 16 weeks, she had a black eye. She said she'd fallen. At 20 weeks, she had bruising on her ribs. She said she'd slipped in the shower. Did you believe these explanations? No, the injuries weren't consistent with the stories. Also, Victoria would flinch when I touched her arm or moved too quickly near her. That's a classic sign of abuse. Did you document your concerns? Yes, in her medical file. I also took photographs with her permission. Dr. Hoffman held up a folder. I have copies here. Catherine submitted the photos as evidence. Judge Brennan reviewed them carefully. Dr. Hoffman, after the assault on October 1st, you examined Mrs. Ashford. What did you find? Severe bruising on her throat in a pattern consistent with strangulation, petechial hemorrhaging in her eyes, damage to her trachea, and bruising on her cervix from the trauma of the assault. Is the cervical bruising significant? Yes, it indicates that the force used during the strangulation was severe enough to cause internal injuries. It also puts her at increased risk during labor and delivery. In your medical opinion, does Derek Ashford pose a danger to Victoria Ashford and her unborn child? Absolutely. Strangulation is one of the strongest predictors of future lethal violence in domestic abuse cases. If he attempted to kill her once, statistically, he's very likely to try again. Thank you, Dr. Hoffman. Chen stood for cross-examination. Dr. Hoffman, you're not a psychiatrist, correct? Correct. So you're not qualified to assess Mrs. Ashford's mental state. I can assess whether she's experiencing psychological distress. And yes, she's been under tremendous stress. That's normal for someone experiencing domestic violence. But you can't rule out that she has underlying mental health issues that contributed to the altercation. There's no altercation to contribute to. Her husband tried to strangle her. That's a crime, not an altercation. Judge Brennan nodded slightly. Next witness, Mrs. Mills. Jennifer Torres took the stand next. She was 32, blonde, and visibly nervous. Catherine approached her gently. Ms. Torres, how do you know Derek Ashford? I dated him for 8 months. This was 5 years ago before he met Victoria. Can you describe your relationship with him? Jennifer took a deep breath. It started well. He was charming, generous, attentive. But after about 3 months, things changed. He started getting angry over small things, controlling where I went, who I talked to. He'd check my phone constantly, make me send him photos to prove where I was. Did he ever become physically violent? Yes, one night we were at dinner and I was talking to the waiter, just being friendly. When we got home, Derek accused me of flirting. I said I wasn't. He grabbed my wrist and twisted it until I heard something crack. Jennifer's voice shook. He drove me to the hospital and told them I'd fallen. Then he paid me $500,000 to sign a non-disclosure agreement and never talk about what happened. Why are you talking about it now? Because I saw the video of what he did to Victoria. She's pregnant and he tried to kill her. I couldn't stay silent anymore. Chen's cross-examination was brutal. Ms. Torres, you signed a legally binding contract agreeing not to discuss your relationship with Mr. Ashford. Yet here you are violating that contract. Doesn't that make you a liar? No, it makes me someone who values human life over money. You're facing a lawsuit for breaking the NDA. My client could sue you for millions. Doesn't that suggest you have a financial motive for testifying? Perhaps Mrs. Ashford's father is paying you? Nobody's paying me. I'm here because it's the right thing to do. Or because you're bitter about your failed relationship and want revenge. I'm here because Derek Ashford is dangerous and someone needs to stop him. Judge Brennan interrupted. Mr. Chen, move on. 3 former employees testified next. All of them described Derek's explosive temper, his abusive language, his tendency toward violence. One man described watching Derek throw a computer monitor at a wall because the presentation wasn't perfect. A woman described being cornered in a conference room while Derek screamed at her for 20 minutes about a missed deadline. Marcus Webb testified about his investigation, the pattern of violence, the financial crimes, the multiple women who'd been paid off and silenced. Gregory Whitman's testimony was the most damaging. He brought financial records showing exactly how Derek had embezzled $200 million from his own company. He brought emails where Derek explicitly discussed hiding money from investors. He brought text messages where Derek threatened employees who questioned his accounting practices. "Why are you testifying against your former employer?" Catherine asked. "Because I have 2 daughters," Gregory said simply. "And I realized that by protecting Derek, I was enabling him to hurt other people's daughters. I couldn't live with that anymore." Chen tried to discredit him. "Mr. Whitman, you were Derek Ashford's business manager for 10 years. You helped him with these alleged financial crimes. Doesn't that make you an accomplice?" "Yes, it does. I'm prepared to face whatever legal consequences come from that, but I'm also prepared to tell the truth." By noon, Catherine had presented 15 witnesses and hundreds of pages of documentation. The evidence was overwhelming. Judge Brennan called for a lunch recess. "We'll reconvene at 1:30. Mr. Chen, you'll present your case then."
Tomar.
Tori sat in a private room with Catherine and her father during lunch. None of them could eat. "It's going well," Catherine said. "Better than well. Every witness was credible. Every piece of evidence speaks for itself." "What about Derek's witnesses?" Tori asked. "He has 3 psychologists who've never actually met you. They're going to testify based on hypothetical scenarios. It's weak." Catherine checked her notes. "He also has some character witnesses. His mother, some business associates, people who will say he's a good man who made one mistake. One mistake that almost killed me." "Exactly. Judge Brennan sees that. I could tell from her questions." When they returned to the courtroom, Derek's legal team began their case. Chen called his first witness, a psychiatrist named Dr. Richard Holmes. "Dr. Holmes, based on your review of the case materials, do you have concerns about Victoria Ashford's mental state?" "Yes. The medical records suggest possible borderline personality disorder. Her behavior pattern indicates emotional instability and a tendency toward dramatic reactions." Catherine objected immediately. "Your Honor, this witness has never met or evaluated Mrs. Ashford. He's diagnosing her based on incomplete and biased information." "Sustained. Dr. Holmes, unless you've personally evaluated Mrs. Ashford, I'm not interested in your speculation about her mental health." Chen tried 2 more psychologists with the same result. Judge Brennan shut them down quickly. Margaret Ashford took the stand next. She wore a simple black dress and pearls, the picture of dignified motherhood. "Mrs. Ashford, can you describe your relationship with your daughter-in-law?" "I've always tried to be welcoming and supportive, but Victoria has been difficult from the beginning. She's very controlling, very manipulative. She isolated Derek from his family and friends." Catherine stood for cross-examination. "Mrs. Ashford, were you present at the Children's Cancer Gala on October 1st? "Yes." "Did you witness your son strangling his pregnant wife?" Margaret hesitated. "I saw an altercation." "Did you see your son's hands around Victoria's throat?" "Things happened very quickly. I'm not sure exactly what I saw." "Really?" Catherine pulled out a tablet. "Your Honor, I'd like to submit Exhibit 47. This is a video recorded by Margaret Ashford on the evening of October 1st. The video played on the courtroom screen. Margaret's shaky footage showed everything. Derek following Tori, the assault, Tori collapsing, Margaret continuing to film instead of helping. "Mrs. Ashford, you recorded your son attempting to murder his wife, and you did nothing. You didn't call for help. You didn't try to stop him. You just kept filming. Why?" Margaret's composure cracked. I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. Or perhaps you were gathering footage to use against Victoria later? Evidence you could edit or spin to protect your son? That's not true." "Your Honor, the defense rests," Chen said abruptly. Judge Brennan looked at both legal teams. "I've heard enough. I'm going to review all the evidence and make my determination. I'll issue my ruling by 5 o'clock today." Court is adjourned. The next 4 hours were the longest of Tori's life. She sat in her father's study, unable to focus on anything. Becca brought tea that went cold. James paced back and forth. Catherine made phone calls and reviewed notes. And at 4:45, Catherine's phone rang. She answered it, listened for a moment, then smiled. "Judge Brennan's ruling is ready. We need to get back to the courthouse." They drove through afternoon traffic. Tori's heart was pounding so hard she thought she might be sick. Everything came down to this moment, this decision. The courtroom was packed when they arrived. News crews, spectators, Derek and his lawyers on one side, Tori and her team on the other. Judge Brennan entered and everyone stood. "Please be seated." She put on her reading glasses and picked up a document. "I've reviewed all the evidence presented today. I've considered testimony from both sides. And I've reached a decision regarding custody of the minor child currently carried by Victoria Caldwell Ashford." The courtroom was silent. The evidence presented by Mrs. Ashford's legal team is overwhelming and deeply disturbing. Multiple witnesses testified to a consistent pattern of violent, controlling, and abusive behavior by Derek Ashford spanning more than a decade. Medical evidence confirms years of physical abuse. Video evidence shows a clear and undeniable attempt to strangle Mrs. Ashford while she was 8 months pregnant. Judge Brennan looked directly at Derek. "Mr. Ashford, I find your defense to be insulting to this court's intelligence. You attempted to murder your wife in front of hundreds of witnesses. You then used your wealth and influence to launch a smear campaign against the victim. You fabricated medical records. You paid people to lie for you. And you stood in my courtroom today and continued to lie." She turned to Tori. "Mrs. Ashford, I'm granting your petition in full. You will have sole legal and physical custody of your daughter upon her birth. Mr. Ashford will be allowed supervised visitation only, 1 hour per month, in a secure facility with a court-appointed supervisor present. This arrangement will be reviewed after 1 year." Tori felt tears streaming down her face. Becca grabbed her hand and squeezed. "Furthermore," Judge Brennan continued, "I'm issuing an emergency protective order. Derek Ashford is not to come within 500 feet of Victoria Ashford at any time. He is not to contact her directly or indirectly. Any violation of this order will result in immediate arrest." Derek stood up abruptly. "This is outrageous. You can't—" "Sit down, Mr. Ashford." Judge Brennan's voice was ice. "I'm not finished. I'm also referring this case to the district attorney's office for criminal prosecution. What you did to your wife was attempted murder. You should be in jail, not standing in my courtroom making demands." She closed her folder. "This court is adjourned. Mrs. Ashford, I wish you and your daughter all the best. Mr. Ashford, get help and stay away from your wife." The gavel came down. Tori collapsed into Catherine's arms, sobbing. Relief flooded through her so intensely she thought she might faint. Her father wrapped both of them in a hug. Becca was crying too. "We won," Catherine said. "You won." Across the courtroom, Derek was arguing with his lawyers. His face was red. His voice was raised. Security guards were moving toward him. Tori didn't care. She placed both hands on her belly and felt her daughter kick. "You're safe," she whispered. "I promise you're safe now." 1 week after the custody hearing, Tori woke up at 3 a.m. with intense cramping. At first, she thought it was just Braxton Hicks contractions, false labor. She'd been having them for weeks, but these felt different, stronger, more regular. She lay in bed timing them with her phone. 5 minutes apart, then 4, then 3. "Okay," she said to her belly. "Okay, I think this is real." She called her father. He answered on the first ring. "Dad, I think I'm in labor." "I'm coming right now. Don't move." 10 minutes later, James was at her door with a pre-packed hospital bag. They'd prepared for this moment weeks ago. Everything ready, everything planned. "How far apart are the contractions?" he asked. 3 minutes, maybe less. Another wave hit and Tori gripped the doorframe. Definitely less. They made it to the car. James drove carefully through empty morning streets while Tori breathed through contractions. The sky was starting to lighten. Dawn approaching. Her daughter would be born on a new day, a fresh start. At the hospital, Dr. Hoffman was waiting. She'd been on call specifically for Tori's delivery. She did a quick exam and smiled. "You're at 7 centimeters already. This baby is coming fast." They moved Tori to a private delivery room. James stayed close, holding her hand through each contraction. Becca arrived 20 minutes later, slightly out of breath. Sorry, I drove as fast as I could. How are you doing?" "I'm good. The epidural is helping." Tori squeezed her father's hand. "I can do this." "Of course you can," James said. "You're the strongest person I know." At the courthouse across town, an emergency session was being held. Derek had filed a motion demanding to be present for the birth. His lawyers argued that he had parental rights regardless of the custody arrangement. Judge Brennan denied the motion. Mr. Ashford will be notified after the child is born. He will not be allowed at the hospital. The protective order stands. Derek stood up, his face contorted with rage. That's my child. You can't keep me away from my own child. I can and I will. Bailiff, if Mr. Ashford doesn't sit down, remove him from my courtroom. Two bailiffs moved toward Derek. His lawyer grabbed his arm and pulled him back down. Your Honor, the lawyer said quickly, my client is understandably emotional. He's about to become a father. He should have thought about that before he tried to strangle the mother. Judge Brennan closed her folder. Motion denied. This hearing is over. Back at the hospital, Tori was in active labor. The contractions were intense now, coming one after another with barely a break between. She focused on her breathing like she'd learned in childbirth class. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Dr. Hoffman checked her progress. You're at 9 centimeters, almost there. Tori's mind drifted during a brief pause between contractions. She thought about her mother, about the last thing she'd said before the cancer took her. Never let anyone make you small. I won't, Mom, Tori whispered. I promise it'll be through. Another contraction hit. This one was different, stronger. Her body was telling her to push. Okay, Tori, Dr. Hoffman said. It's time. Next contraction, I want you to push as hard as you can. Tori nodded. James was on one side, Becca on the other, both of them holding her hands, supporting her. The contraction came. Tori pushed. The pain was incredible, but also purposeful. She was bringing her daughter into the world. She was creating life. Good, Dr. Hoffman encouraged. One more time. Big push. Tori pushed again. She felt her daughter moving, making her way into the world. I can see her head, Dr. Hoffman said. One more push, and she'll be here. Tori gathered every bit of strength she had left. She thought about everything she'd been through. The abuse, the assault, the legal battle, the fear and uncertainty, all of it leading to this moment. She pushed. A baby's cry filled the room. It's a girl, Dr. Hoffman said, smiling. She's perfect. They placed the baby on Tori's chest. Tiny, pink, screaming with healthy lungs. Tori looked down at her daughter's face and felt her entire world shift. This was what mattered, this tiny person, this new life. Hi, Charlotte, Tori whispered. Hi, baby girl. I'm your mom. Charlotte's eyes opened briefly, dark blue, unfocused, searching. She stopped crying and seemed to listen to Tori's voice. I will never let anyone hurt you, Tori said. I promise you that. You're safe, you're loved, and you're mine. James was crying openly now. He touched his granddaughter's tiny hand with one finger. Charlotte's fingers wrapped around his automatically. She's beautiful, he said, just like her mother, just like her grandmother. Becca was taking photos with her phone, tears streaming down her face. I can't believe she's really here. She's really here, Tori repeated. And suddenly everything that they'd been fighting for became clear. Not revenge, not justice exactly, but this moment, this child, this chance for a different future. 4 hours later, Tori was resting in a private recovery room. Charlotte was sleeping in a bassinet beside the bed, tiny and perfect, and completely unaware of the battle that had been fought over her. A nurse came in with paperwork. We need to notify the father of the birth. It's hospital policy. Go ahead, Tori said. She wasn't afraid anymore. Derek couldn't hurt her here. He couldn't take Charlotte. The law was on her side now. The nurse made the call while Tori watched. She could hear Derek's voice on the other end, demanding, angry. The nurse calmly explained the visiting restrictions due to the protective order. Mr. Ashford, you'll receive official notification from the court regarding supervised visitation. For now, you're not permitted at the hospital. She hung up despite his protests. He's not happy, the nurse said diplomatically. I don't care, Tori replied. An hour later, a court clerk arrived with official documents. Judge Brennan's emergency custody order had been updated to reflect Charlotte's birth. Tori had sole legal and physical custody effective immediately. Derek's supervised visitation would begin in 1 month after Tori had time to recover. Catherine Mills called to congratulate her. "How are you feeling?" "Tired, happy, relieved." "Good, because I have news. The district attorney is moving forward with criminal charges against Derek. Attempted murder, assault, witness intimidation. The trial is scheduled for 4 months from now." "Will I have to testify?" "Yes, but we'll prepare you thoroughly, and you'll have Charlotte by then. You'll have something concrete to fight for." After Catherine hung up, Tori looked down at her sleeping daughter. Charlotte's tiny chest rose and fell steadily. Her little fists were curled up near her face. She was real, solid, the most important thing in the world. "Your father wanted to control everything," Tori said softly. "He wanted to control me, control you, control the narrative. But he can't control reality. You're here, you're mine." And he lost. While Tori was in the hospital recovering with her newborn daughter, Derek's carefully constructed empire began to collapse. The SEC investigation had been moving quietly in the background for weeks. Now it exploded into public view. Federal agents raided Ashford Innovations headquarters, seizing computers and financial records. Offshore accounts were frozen. Bank statements were subpoenaed. The evidence was overwhelming. Derek had embezzled $210 million from his own company over 5 years. He'd used investor money for personal expenses. He'd falsified quarterly reports. He'd lied to shareholders and the board of directors. Within 24 hours of Charlotte's birth, the board of directors called an emergency meeting. Derek arrived at his office building to find federal agents in the lobby, employees packing boxes. Reporters camped outside with cameras. In the boardroom, 12 board members sat waiting. Their faces were grim. Diane Sullivan was there too, representing James Caldwell's significant investment in the company. "Derek, sit down," the chairman said. "What the hell is going on? Why are there federal agents in my building?" "Because you've been stealing from this company for years." The chairman slid a folder across the table. "We've seen the evidence, the offshore accounts, the wire transfers, all of it." Derek's face went pale, then red. "This is James Caldwell's doing. He's trying to destroy me because I divorced his daughter." "You didn't divorce her. She divorced you, after you tried to murder her." Diane's voice was ice cold. "And James didn't fabricate $200 million in theft. You did that all by yourself. I built this company. My father started it, and I made it a billion-dollar success. You can't just—" "Actually, we can." The chairman stood. "Derek Ashford, effective immediately, you are terminated from Ashford Innovations. You are removed from the board of directors. You are stripped of all stock options and benefits. Security will escort you from the building." "You can't do this." "We already have." The vote was unanimous. Derek looked around the table. Every person he'd worked with for years, every board member he'd thought he controlled, all of them were staring at him with identical expressions of disgust. "My father would be ashamed," Derek said desperately. "He built this company with his bare hands. You're destroying his legacy." "No," Diane said quietly. "Your father would be ashamed of you. You destroyed his legacy yourself." 2 security guards entered the boardroom. Derek looked at them, at the board members, at Diane. His face twisted with rage. "This isn't over. I'll sue all of you. You'll do nothing." The chairman nodded at security. "Get him out of here." They escorted Derek from the building. Employees watched silently as the former CEO walked past in handcuffs. Some of them pulled out phones and recorded it. By evening, the video would have 50 million views. The financial collapse was swift and brutal. Ashford Innovations stock plummeted. Investors who trusted Derek with billions of dollars pulled out en masse. The company's valuation dropped from $2.3 billion to $400 million in 3 days. Derek's personal assets were seized. The penthouse apartment in Manhattan, the house in the Hamptons, the vacation home in Aspen, the yacht, the cars, the art collection worth $30 million. All of it liquidated to pay back the money he'd stolen. Creditors came after him for outstanding loans. Business partners sued for breach of contract. Former employees filed lawsuits for hostile work environment and wrongful termination. The mounting legal fees alone were astronomical. Derek burned through his remaining liquid assets in a week. His lawyers, seeing the writing on the wall, began withdrawing from his case. They filed motions to be released from representing him, citing irreconcilable differences and unpaid bills. Derek was forced to hire a public defender for his criminal trial. Marcus Webb published a follow-up article titled The Fall of House Ashford. It detailed every step of Derek's collapse, the SAC charges, the board's unanimous vote to remove him, the asset seizures, the bankruptcy filing. The article included a sidebar showing Derek's net worth over time, $2.30 billion at his peak, down to $400 million after the assault video went viral, down to nothing 3 weeks later. James Caldwell had spent $800 million orchestrating Derek's destruction, every penny of his personal fortune, but it had worked. Derek was ruined completely. Margaret Ashford watched her son's collapse from her own apartment. She'd moved out of the family mansion days after the custody hearing. She couldn't bear to be there anymore. She sat alone drinking wine and thinking about the choices she'd made, the times she'd covered for Derek, the lies she'd told to protect him, the video she'd filmed instead of helping Victoria. Her husband had been abusive. She'd lived with violence for 30 years. She'd normalized it, accepted it, passed it down to her son without realizing what she was doing. Now her son was facing prison. His wife had full custody of the grandchild Margaret would probably never see, and it was all her fault. She picked up her phone and called a number she'd avoided for weeks. "Is this Victoria?" Silence on the other end. Then, "Yes. This is Margaret. Please don't hang up." "What do you want?" "I want to see my granddaughter." Margaret's voice cracked. "Please, I know I don't deserve it. I know I helped him hurt you, but she's my only grandchild and you filmed him strangling me. You helped him lie about it. You called me unstable on national television." I know. Margaret started crying. "I raised a monster, I see that now. My husband hit me for 30 years and I thought it was normal. I thought that's what marriage was. And I taught Derek that it was okay to hurt women because I never stood up for myself." Tori was quiet for a long moment. "That doesn't excuse what you did." "No, it doesn't. Nothing excuses it." Margaret wiped her eyes. "I'm getting help. I found a therapist who specializes in domestic violence survivors. I'm going to AA meetings, so I'm trying to understand how I became this person." "I'm glad you're getting help, but that doesn't mean you get to see Charlotte." "I understand. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry, truly, deeply sorry. And if you ever decide to give me a chance, I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be the grandmother she deserves." Tori hung up without responding. Margaret sat in the dark apartment and continued crying. She'd lost everything. Her son, her granddaughter, her self-respect, all because she'd been too weak to break the cycle of violence. But maybe it wasn't too late to try. 3 weeks after Charlotte's birth, Derek's bankruptcy filing became official. $830 million in debt. No assets, no income, no prospects. He'd gone from billionaire to broke in less than a month. His criminal trial was scheduled for the following month. The charges were serious. Attempted murder carried a potential sentence of 25 years. The embezzlement charges added another 15. Witness intimidation, assault, multiple counts of fraud. If convicted on all charges, Derek would spend the rest of his life in prison. His public defender tried to negotiate a plea deal. The district attorney refused. Too much evidence, too much public attention. This case was going to trial. Tori read about Derek's bankruptcy in the newspaper while nursing Charlotte. She felt nothing. No satisfaction. No vindication. Just emptiness where her fear of him used to be. "He's gone," she said to her daughter. "He can't hurt us anymore." Charlotte finished nursing and looked up at her mother with unfocused eyes. She made a small sound, something between a coo and a creaky. "You know, baby girl, I know." Her phone rang. It was Catherine Mills. "Derek's lawyers just called. He wants to see Charlotte. He says he has a right as her father." "No." "I agree, but legally he does have supervised visitation rights. 1 hour per month, remember? Then we'll do it at the facility like the judge ordered, with security present. He doesn't get to be alone with her for 1 second." "Understood. I'll set it up for next week." Are you sure you want to do this? You don't have to bring her if you're not ready. Tori looked down at Charlotte. Her daughter was falling asleep, milk-drunk and peaceful. I need him to see what he lost, Tori said slowly. I need him to understand that he destroyed his own life and that I'm not afraid of him anymore. Okay, I'll make the arrangements. The supervised visitation facility was a bland building in a commercial district. Gray walls, fluorescent lighting, security cameras in every corner. Tori arrived with Charlotte, now 4 weeks old. Becca came too, for moral support. James wanted to come, but Tori asked him to stay home. I need to do this by myself, she'd said. I need to face Derek without anyone protecting me. A social worker named Linda greeted them at the entrance. She was in her 40s with kind eyes and a calm demeanor. Mrs. Ashford, thank you for coming. I know this is difficult. It's okay, let's just get it over with. Linda led them to a small room with a table and chairs. Windows on 2 sides allowed security staff to observe. Cameras recorded everything. Mr. Ashford will be brought in shortly. You'll sit here with Charlotte. He'll sit across from you. He's not allowed to touch the baby without your permission. I'll be in the room the entire time. If you feel uncomfortable at any point, just say the word and we end the visit immediately. Thank you. Tori sat down and adjusted Charlotte in her arms. Her daughter was awake, looking around with curious eyes. She'd grown so much in 4 weeks, already filling out, losing that newborn scrawniness. The door opened. Derek walked in. Tori barely recognized him. He'd lost weight. His hair was unkempt. He wore a cheap suit that didn't fit properly. His face was gaunt, with dark circles under his eyes. He looked 10 years older than he had at the gala. Derek's eyes went immediately to Charlotte. Something flickered across his face. Grief? Regret? Tori couldn't tell. He sat down across from her. The table was between them. Linda stood near the door, watching carefully. For a long moment, no one spoke. Victoria. Derek's voice was hoarse. You look well. I'm well. Charlotte is well. Derek's eyes filled with tears. She's beautiful. Can I hold her? No. Victoria, please, she's my daughter. I just want to hold her for a minute. You tried to kill her. When you had your hands around my throat, you were killing both of us. You don't get to hold her. Derek's jaw clenched. Tori recognized that expression, the anger building, the control slipping. But he couldn't do anything here. The cameras were recording. Linda was watching. Security was outside the door. He was powerless. I'm sorry, Derek said. The words sounded forced, rehearsed. For everything, I was under so much pressure. Work stress, family expectations. I wasn't myself. Stop. Tori's voice was firm. You don't get to do that. Do what? Make excuses, blame circumstances, pretend you're someone else. You are yourself, Derek. The man who threw things at me, who twisted my wrist, who isolated me from my friends and family, who tried to strangle me while I was pregnant. That's who you really are. I was sick. I needed help. You're not sick. You're abusive. There's a difference. Tori shifted Charlotte in her arms. Sick people want to get better. They take responsibility. They change. You did none of those things. Even now in this room, you're making excuses. Derek's facade cracked. You destroyed my life. No, you destroyed your life. You tried to murder your pregnant wife in front of hundreds of witnesses. You embezzled millions of dollars. You threatened people. You lied. Every consequence you're facing is the direct result of your own choices. Your father spent $800 million to ruin me. My father spent $800 million to protect me, to protect Charlotte, because that's what real love looks like. Tori leaned forward slightly. You don't know what love is, Derek. You think love is control, possession, but it's not. Love is sacrifice, it's protection. It's putting someone else's well-being above your own. So this is revenge? No, this is justice, and I'm finally free. Derek's hands clenched into fists on the table. Linda moved slightly closer, alert. Free? Derek's voice rose. You're a single mother with no money and no job. Your father bankrupted himself protecting you. You think you're free? You're going to struggle for the rest of your life. Maybe, but I'll struggle without you, and that makes everything easier. You can't keep my daughter from me forever. I don't have to keep her from you. The courts are doing that. You're going to prison, Derek, for years, maybe decades. By the time you get out, Charlotte will be an adult. She'll know exactly who you are and what you did, and she'll make her own choice about whether to have a relationship with you. Derek stood up abruptly. His chair scraped against the floor. Linda stepped forward immediately. Mr. Ashford, please sit down. This visit is over. I can't. He looked at Charlotte one more time. I can't do this. He turned and left the room. The door closed behind him with a hollow thud. Linda approached Tori. Are you okay? Yes, I'm fine. Tori stood up, holding Charlotte carefully. Actually, I'm better than fine. She walked out of the facility into bright afternoon sunshine. Becca was waiting by the car. How did it go? It's over. Really over. Tori looked down at her daughter. He can't hurt us anymore. He has no power over us. He's just a broken man who destroyed his own life. How do you feel? Tori thought about it. She'd expected to feel triumphant, vindicated, satisfied, but mostly she just felt light, free, like a weight she'd been carrying for years had finally lifted. I feel nothing, she said, and that's exactly right. 6 months later, Tori stood in front of the mirror in her small apartment. It was modest, 1 bedroom, not much space, but it was hers. Every piece of furniture she'd chosen herself. Every decoration reflected her taste, not Derek's. Charlotte, now 7 months old, was crawling around the living room floor. She'd hit that milestone early, already trying to pull herself up on furniture, already babbling constantly. A happy, healthy baby who knew nothing of the darkness that had surrounded her conception and birth. The walls were covered with photos. Tori's mother holding baby Tori, James holding Charlotte at the hospital, Becca making silly faces at the baby, Dr. Hoffman at Charlotte's checkup, Marcus Webb holding his journalism award. Not a single photo of Derek. Tori was getting ready for work. She'd returned to her old nonprofit 3 months ago, starting part-time. The organization welcomed her back with open arms. Within weeks, they promoted her to director. The position came with a modest salary but fulfilling work. She was helping young people access education, making a real difference. James visited every Wednesday for grandfather Charlotte time. He'd rebuilt his fortune slowly, making smart investments. He'd never regret spending $800 million to protect his daughter. He said it was the best money he'd ever spent. Becca came over every Saturday. She and Charlotte had a special bond. Charlotte always smiled biggest for Aunt Becca. Tori's phone buzzed with a reminder. Derek's criminal trial had concluded yesterday. She'd testified 3 weeks ago, told her story clearly and calmly, shown the jury her medical records, pointed to the fading scars on her throat. The verdict came in quickly. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing was today. Tori wasn't going to attend. She didn't need to see Derek in handcuffs. Didn't need the closure of watching him get sentenced. She'd already closed that chapter of her life. But Catherine texted her with updates throughout the morning. Judge gave him 12 years for attempted murder, 10 for embezzlement, 3 for witness intimidation, sentences to run consecutively, 25 years total. Tori read the message and felt nothing, just emptiness where her fear used to be. She picked up Charlotte and held her close. Your father is gone, baby girl, for a very long time, and we're going to be just fine without him. Charlotte grabbed Tori's hair and giggled. That evening, Tori recorded a voice memo on her phone, something for Charlotte to listen to when she was older. When she started asking questions about her father. Hi, baby girl. If you're listening to this, it means you're old enough to want to know the truth. About me, about your father, about everything that happened. So here's what I want you to know. Your father was abusive, not because of work stress or family pressure or any external circumstance. He was abusive because he made a choice to hurt people he claimed to love. That was his choice, not mine, not yours, his. I stayed in that relationship for 3 years. I made excuses for him. I explained away every red flag. I thought I could fix him. I thought love was enough. I learned that love is never enough when the other person doesn't want to change. I learned that staying in a bad situation doesn't make you strong. It just makes you stuck. I also learned that asking for help isn't weakness, it's strength. Your grandfather, Becca, Dr. Hoffman, so many people helped me escape. I couldn't have done it alone. And that's okay. The thing about abusive relationships is that they make you feel crazy, like you're overreacting, like everything is your fault. I spent 3 years questioning my own reality, doubting my own perceptions, thinking I was the problem. But I wasn't the problem. I was never the problem. The moment I stopped sucking for his permission to save myself was the moment I became free. Your grandfather gave me tools, resources, support, but I saved myself in you. I want you to know something important. You are not responsible for your father's actions. His choices have nothing to do with who you are or who you'll become. You get to choose your own path. Someday he might try to contact you. He might try to build a relationship. That's your decision to make. I won't interfere. I won't try to poison you against him. But I also won't lie about what happened. Here's the truth. He tried to kill me while I was pregnant with you. He hurt me for years before that. He stole money. He lied. He manipulated. He used his wealth and power to silence his victims. And when his actions finally caught up with him, when he faced consequences, he blamed everyone but himself. That's who he is. That's who he chose to be. But you're not him. You're mine. You're your grandfather's. You're the product of love and sacrifice and people who fought to protect you. That's your legacy, not his. I love you, Charlotte, more than anything in this world. And I promise you this, I will never let anyone make you small. I will never let anyone hurt you. And I will teach you to take up space, use your voice, and be unapologetically yourself. That's what your grandmother taught me, and it's what I'm teaching you. Tori stopped the recording and saved it. She'd add to it over the years, create a full picture for Charlotte. The truth, no sugarcoating, but also no bitterness, just facts, just reality. 1 month later, Tori was invited to speak at a support group for domestic violence survivors. She almost declined. Public speaking terrified her. Talking about her experience felt too raw. But then she thought about all the women still trapped, still making excuses, still explaining away bruises and broken bones and shattered self-esteem. She accepted the invitation. The support group met in a church basement. 15 women sat in a circle. They ranged in age from early 20s to late 60s. Different backgrounds, different stories, but all of them sharing the same haunted look Tori recognized from her own mirror. The facilitator introduced her. This is Victoria. She's agreed to share her story with us tonight. Tori stood up. Charlotte was with Becca tonight. This was something Tori needed to do alone. Hi, my name is Tori. I'm 29 years old. I'm a single mother, and I'm a survivor of domestic violence. She told them her story, not all of it. She didn't have time for every detail. But the important parts, the isolation, the gaslighting, the escalating violence, the moment at the gala when everything became undeniable. She talked about the legal battle, the custody fight, the financial warfare her father waged on her behalf. I was lucky, she said honestly. My father had resources most people don't have. He could afford lawyers and investigators and strategies that destroyed my abuser. Not everyone has that. So what do we do? One woman asked. She had a fresh bruise on her cheek. If we don't have rich fathers to save us, you save yourself, Tori said. I know that sounds impossible. I know you're exhausted and scared, and maybe you don't even know where to start, but you take one tiny step. You call a hotline. You tell one person the truth. You document one injury. You save $1 in a secret account. You take one step toward the door. She looked around the circle, saw herself in every face. The door was always unlocked, she said quietly. I was my own jailer. I stayed because I was afraid. Afraid of being alone, afraid of failing, afraid of what people would think, afraid he'd hurt me worse if I tried to leave. How did you stop being afraid? Another woman asked. I didn't. I'm still afraid sometimes. Fear doesn't just disappear, but I decided that being afraid and free was better than being afraid and trapped. Tori's voice grew stronger, and I learned something important. The things I was most afraid of, they weren't real. I thought I couldn't survive without him. But I'm surviving. I thought no one would believe me, but people did. I thought I'd lose everything, but I lost nothing that mattered. After the meeting, 3 women approached her. They asked for her phone number, said they were thinking about leaving, asked if they could call her when they got scared. Yes, Tori said. Call me anytime, day or night. You're not alone. She handed each of them her card with her personal number written on the back. Walking to her car, Tori felt something shift inside her. The pain of what she'd experienced was being transformed into purpose. She could help other women. She could use her story to save lives. Maybe that's what it was all for. The suffering, the fear, the battle. So she could reach back and pull others out of the darkness. 9 months after Charlotte's birth, Tori attended the Children's Cancer Gala. The same event where Derek had assaulted her. The same venue. The same ballroom. She almost didn't go. The memories were too painful. But then she decided she needed to reclaim that space. Needed to prove to herself that Derek didn't own her fear anymore. She wore a red dress. Bold. Unapologetic. Her hair was down, natural. She didn't try to hide or shrink herself. Charlotte was with her grandfather tonight. Tori needed to do this alone. When she walked into the ballroom, conversations stopped. People stared. Everyone recognized her. Everyone remembered what had happened here. Tori held her head high and kept walking. The event organizer approached her immediately. Mrs. Ashford, Victoria, I'm so glad you came. We'd love for you to say a few words about your nonprofit work, about the cause, about everything. I'd be honored. Later that evening, Tori stood at the podium. The same ballroom where she'd been strangled now held her voice. The microphone amplified her words to hundreds of listeners. Last year in this room, something terrible happened to me. She paused, letting the words settle. Many of you witnessed it. Some of you filmed it. All of you remember it. The room was silent. I'm not going to pretend it didn't happen. I'm not going to be ashamed of it. What happened was not my fault. It was the action of an abusive man who'd been enabled for too long. Someone started clapping, then another person, then the entire room erupted in applause. Tori waited for it to die down. But I'm not here tonight to talk about that. I'm here to talk about the future, about the work we're doing to help children access education, about breaking cycles of poverty and abuse, about creating opportunities for young people who need them most. She talked about her nonprofit, about the programs they'd implemented, about the children they'd helped, about the donors who made it possible. We all have darkness in our past, Tori said. We all have moments we wish we could change. But what matters is what we do with that darkness. Do we let it consume us? Or do we transform it into light? She finished her speech to a standing ovation. People approached her afterward, donors offering support, women sharing their own stories, men apologizing for not intervening that night. You didn't know, Tori told them. How could you have known? I didn't even fully know what was happening to me. After the formal part of the evening ended, Tori stood near the window looking out at the city. Lights twinkled. Life continued. The world kept spinning regardless of individual tragedy or triumph. Someone approached her, a man in his early 40s with kind eyes and an easy smile. Mrs. Ashford, I'm Daniel Patterson. I run a foundation that supports domestic violence prevention. I've been following your story. I'm incredibly impressed by your strength. Thank you. I was wondering if you might be interested in partnering with our foundation. We're developing educational programs for young people, teaching them to recognize the warning signs of abusive relationships, teaching them that what they see in their homes isn't normal or acceptable. I'd love to talk more about that. Great. Can I get your number? Maybe we could have coffee sometime? Tori looked at him carefully. Was he asking professionally or personally? She wasn't sure. And honestly, she wasn't ready to find out. But she gave him her number anyway, because she was open to possibility now, open to whatever came next. Marcus Webb approached with a photographer. Tori, we're doing a follow-up piece. 1 year later. Would you be willing to be interviewed? Yes, but can we do it at my nonprofit office? I want the focus to be on the work, not on me. Perfect. The evening wound down. Tori said her goodbyes and headed to her car. She drove through quiet city streets thinking about how much had changed in 1 year. This time last year, she was 8 months pregnant and terrified. Trapped in a marriage that was killing her. Afraid to leave, afraid to stay, paralyzed by fear. Now she was free. She had her daughter, she had her work, she had herself back. So, at home, Tori paid the babysitter and checked on Charlotte. Her daughter was asleep in her crib, one tiny fist near her mouth, peaceful, safe, loved. Tori stood in the doorway watching her breathe, the rise and fall of her small chest, the flutter of her eyelids, the complete vulnerability of sleep. "I did it," Tori whispered. "I kept you safe. I got us out. I built a new life for us." Charlotte stirred slightly but didn't wake. Tori went to her own room and changed out of the red dress. She looked at herself in the mirror, really looked, not judging, not criticizing, just seeing herself clearly. She was stronger than she'd ever been, not because of what she'd survived, but because of who she'd become in the process. She'd learned that she could be her own hero, that she didn't need rescuing, that asking for help and saving yourself weren't mutually exclusive. She'd learned that love shouldn't hurt, that real love built you up instead of tearing you down, that she deserved better than scraps and apologies. She'd learned that her mother was right. Never let anyone make you small. Tori crawled into bed and closed her eyes. Tomorrow she had work. Charlotte had a doctor's appointment. Life continued with its mundane necessities and simple pleasures. But tonight she just wanted to rest, to feel the safety of her own apartment, to know that no one would wake her up with angry words or violent hands. She was free, finally, completely, undeniably free, and she would never let anyone cage her again. 2 years after the Gala incident, Tori received a letter. It had been forwarded through her lawyer. Prison mail, Derek's handwriting on the envelope. She almost threw it away without reading it, but something made her open it. The letter was short, 3 paragraphs. "Victoria, I'm writing this because my therapist says I need to take responsibility for my actions. I hurt you. I hurt us. I destroyed our family. I know sorry doesn't fix anything. I know I can't undo what I did. I think about Charlotte every day. Wonder what she looks like, if she has your eyes or mine, if she's walking and talking yet, if she'll ever know who I am. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect anything. I just wanted you to know that I see it now, what I did, who I was, and I'm trying to be different. Not for you, not even for Charlotte, but for myself, because I can't live with who I was, Derek." Tori read the letter twice. Then she folded it carefully and put it in a box with all the legal documents from their divorce. She didn't respond, didn't acknowledge it. Some things didn't require a response. That weekend, Tori took Charlotte to the park. Her daughter was 2.5 now, running, talking in full sentences, full of energy and joy. "Mommy, look!" Charlotte pointed at the swings. "Push me!" Tori pushed her daughter on the swing, listened to her laugh with pure delight, watched her hair fly back as she went higher. This was what mattered. These moments. This child. This life they'd built together. The past was over. Derek was in prison. The danger had passed. Only the future remained. Wide open, full of possibility. "Higher, Mommy, higher!" Tori pushed the swing. Charlotte's laugh echoed across the playground. She never let anyone make her small again, and neither would her daughter. If Victoria's story moved you, hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear that freedom is possible, that asking for help is strength, that abuse is never the victim's fault. Drop a comment telling me what moment hit you hardest. Was it the hospital scene, the courtroom victory, or that final confrontation at the jail? And subscribe, because next week I'm bringing you another true story of someone who refused to stay a victim. Someone who fought back and won. You're not alone. Your story matters, and freedom is always worth fighting for.